where news comes first.
Next on Good Morning El Paso, Children's Hospital has a big decision to make today. Will it accept the offer by University Medical Center to help settle past debts?
Another deadline, this for a budget decision for the Department of Homeland Security. Could we be facing another government shutdown?
And we now know the identity of the man killed during a welding explosion at the William Beaumont Hospital construction site.
Live, where news comes first. From the Mesilla Valley and Las Cruces to El Paso and the borderland. This is ABC7's Good Morning El Paso.
A very good morning, El Paso, Las Cruces, and Juarez. I'm Stephanie Valle.
And I'm Hillary Florin. Good morning, everyone. Let's get right to the headlines. Today is the deadline for El Paso Children's Hospital. Officials must accept or reject that offer by UMC. Earlier this week, UMC gave Children's the option of repaying just short of $50 million. In exchange for absorbing the rest of that debt, UMC would acquire a controlling interest in Children's and the right to appoint and remove any future CEO. Initially, UMC said it wanted Children's to accept the offer by today, and then talk of a possible counteroffer surfaced. Earlier this week, ABC7 spoke with El Paso Children's Hospital Board Chair Rosemary Castillo. She admitted the board has discussed declaring bankruptcy. Castillo did not answer our calls, messages, or texts, but we did speak with local bankruptcy attorney Edgar Borrego of Tanzi and Borrego. He says filing for Chapter 11 would allow the hospital to reorganize its debt with its creditors, including UMC. Borrego said that debt would have to be addressed since Children's is leasing the property from UMC. Bankruptcy would preserve the Children's Hospital organizational structure, including its board of managers. But he added, bankruptcy would not ensure its long-term future.
The good is that, of course, they're going to be able to reorganize their debt. My understanding is, from what I've heard, of course, is that they have a lot of debt out there, not just the leases, but other debts as well. They're losing a lot of money. Now, my concern is that that's the first step. They got to fix, the loss of income. Because even if they do a bankruptcy, they keep losing money, they're not making money, they're eventually going to shut down.
Also, El Paso County Judge Veronica Escobar told us she never received a formal request from the Children's Hospital chair for a meeting with county commissioners to further discuss UMC's terms. So it does not appear that that meeting will happen.
Happening today, Superintendent of Isla's School District Dr. Xavier de la Torre will deliver the State of the District address to the community later this morning. The address is scheduled from 7:30 to 9 o'clock. And it is going to happen later today at the YSD Central Office Atrium at 9600 Sims. ABC7's Luke Liddon will have more details later in this newscast.
We'll check in with him. In the meantime, a former school board member is out on bond this morning after a plea deal that he made yesterday. Victor Jerome Ressa entered his plea yesterday. He was with the El Paso Catholic Diocese and has pleaded guilty to receiving and sharing porn. Child porn, that is. Prosecutors agreed to drop a charge of possession of material depicting the sexual exploitation of children. Jerome Ressa admitted to investigators that he knowingly downloaded child porn using peer-to-peer sites. According to the El Paso Times, Ressa is out on bond, but he does have to wear a monitoring device. Sentencing is scheduled for May 11th.
Fort Bliss has confirmed the construction worker killed at the new William Beaumont Army Medical Center site on Tuesday was Jesus Moreno of El Paso. His family allowed us to use this photo of him from Facebook. We spoke with a fellow construction worker who did not want to be identified for fear of losing his job. He says Moreno was welding when there was an explosion and Moreno fell. The accident comes during the same week other El Paso construction workers traveled to Austin to urge lawmakers to enforce stricter safety practices at construction sites. The man we spoke with told us there was a safety orientation at the Beaumont construction site, but he says that's not the case at many other jobs.
My sympathy goes to his family. I knew him very well, and I know he's in a good place with the Lord upstairs.
State Senator Jose Rodriguez introduced a resolution in Austin this week to honor those who have died in construction-related accidents. And those who spoke in Austin this week are hoping the state will reform the construction industry to enforce rest breaks, safety training, and workers' comp insurance. Meanwhile, Moreno's family has set up a GoFundMe account to help pay for funeral expenses. So if you'd like to donate, you can go to GoFundMe.com and search for Jesus Moreno.
It is 5:05. Time to talk to Crystal about the wind outside. It's been blowing hard all night long, at least on the west side, Crystal.
It was blustery.
You know what? Just as we had forecast, those winds lasted throughout the night, still this morning in place. And as you mentioned, out in West El Paso and Far East El Paso, seeing a little bit higher wind gusts than in parts of the central part of our county. Let's talk about those wind speeds. Now, on the wide scale view, we are looking at those winds 9 miles per hour in El Paso, 14 in Las Cruces, and 28 miles per hour Guadalupe Pass. Again, a little farther wind speeds out far east part of our viewing zone. If we go into our WeatherNet sites, though, we do see those wind speeds more down into the county at 34 miles per hour at the Greater El Paso landfill near Clint, 14 now down to 9 KVIA studios, and in the 20s at the War Eagles Museum. Temperatures are also very chilly this morning. Grab that jacket. We told you yesterday it would be a freezing to below freezing morning, and that it is. Temperatures on the 30s right now. Some of us will likely drop into the 20s. We'll talk more about those wind chill temperatures coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks so much, Crystal. And now let's get back to headlines. We told you last night on ABC 7 at 10 that the deadline for funding has officially run out for the Department of Homeland Security. However, it could come down to a series of last-minute votes later today. House Speaker John Boehner outlined a plan to introduce a 3-week continuing resolution that would fund the department temporarily for 3 weeks. Republicans are being accused of holding off on passing funding because they want to repeal the president's immigration policies. But it appears that House Republicans may leave those policies in place for now and approve short-term funding. Earlier this week, Senate Republicans had to strip down those immigration provisions before its version of a bill could move forward.
Thousands of Border Patrol agents are among those bracing for this possible shutdown.
Angela Cocierga explains what happens if funding actually does run out. She continues our complete coverage.
More than 21,000 Border Patrol agents are among those affected if Congress fails to fund the Department of Homeland Security. The agents and other essential employees will still have to go to work, but they won't get paid.
Do we really want the people who are securing our border out there worrying about where their next paycheck is going to come from?
It's the same question asked by 3 Homeland Security secretaries at a joint press conference.
We would no more ask the men and women in harm's way in Afghanistan or the 3,000 boots on the ground combating ISIL to go out to provide safety and security in the interest of national security without pay. And I think it's a very appropriate analogy.
The paychecks of Homeland Security employees here on the border and elsewhere are in question because Congress and the president are clashing over immigration. Republicans refuse to provide funding unless President Obama backs away from his plan to shield about 5 million undocumented immigrants from deportation.
Don't hold Border Patrol agents' paychecks hostage because of an executive action that President Obama took.
Funding for the Department of Homeland Security ends Friday at midnight. Angela Cocierga, ABC 7.
A bill filed in the Texas House this week would require government officials to disclose public records, even if it's stored on a private device. Currently, there's a loophole that prevents that. The bill would allow someone to sue to release information when a government employee refuses to provide it, and a private cell phone would be considered fair game. This issue was put into the spotlight last year when El Paso attorney Stephanie Townsend Ayala sought emails about the construction of the downtown ballpark. Attorneys for the city maintained only government-owned devices were subject to the public information law, but the AG's office sided with Ayala. The city received a favorable ruling upon appeal, and the case is now with the Texas Supreme Court. But if this bill passes, that would no longer be an issue.
A series of young people in North America are under arrest or investigation for allegedly trying to join the ISIS terror group overseas. Mary Maloney has the story.
Authorities say a Minnesota teen tried to fly to Turkey with the intent of joining ISIS in Syria. The 18-year-old Somali American pleaded guilty Thursday in a federal court in Minneapolis. In Canada, authorities are investigating several missing teens who attended a community college in Montreal. A police source said the teens may have traveled to Turkey in order to join ISIS. There was shock and concern among students.
It just makes us think, like, what were they thinking?
I can't believe that some students could have their mind like blown by that and leave the country to go there.
And 2 Brooklyn men are accused of trying to fly from New York to Turkey in hopes of eventually joining ISIS in Syria. Those 2 and a 3rd Brooklyn man accused of trying to help fund the trip appeared in court on Wednesday. Their attorney says the FBI is rushing to prosecute. Online propaganda by ISIS is a growing threat. The State Department says it's battling about 90,000 tweets each day, and the FBI says it's investigating homegrown violent extremists in all 50 states. The threat posed by ISIS came up at the Conservative Political Action Conference in Maryland Thursday.
We have radical Islamic terrorist groups that are in their adolescent stage that wish to destroy us. And we have 2 choices. We can wait and see what they're going to do and react to it, or we can destroy them first.
I'm Mary Maloney reporting.
And it's 10 minutes after 5. Here's a live look at traffic. I-10 eastbound at Piedras is open now after it was closed due to construction overnight.
And you can see that things are moving along pretty smoothly. No problems to report. Of course, we'll keep an eye on traffic throughout the morning.
Of course we will. And still ahead on Good Morning El Paso.
There's a productive way to spend your snow day, how one teen is killing time on his days off.
And honoring and remembering the Jesuits at Concordia Cemetery. We'll update you on that story.
But first, Stormtrack weather meteorologist Crystal Clyde has a preview of your complete forecast. Crystal.
And we are still talking winds, a big factor in that 7-day forecast. What day over the next 7 days has the highest gusts? We'll answer that coming up.
Thanks, Crystal. This is ABC 7, where news comes first.
Tigers, both of you. Tigers? Don't be modest. I see how you've been investing, setting long-term goals, diversifying. Dip! You got our attention.
We did?
Of course, you're type E.
Well, I have been researching retirement strategies.
Well, that's what type E's do. Welcome home.
Taking control of your retirement? E-Trade gives you the tools and resources to get it right. Are you type E?
At Kellogg's, we believe breakfast helps fuel a child's potential. Yet 1 in 5 kids go without it. That's why for years we've provided millions of breakfasts to those who may need it. And now, when you buy a specially marked box of Kellogg's cereals, you're helping give a breakfast to a child. Because a bowl full of potential is one of the things they need to help reach theirs. Kellogg's. See you at breakfast.
And welcome back. It's 5:12. Here's a look at what's trending right now on our website, KVIA.com. A youth football association is asking the public for help paying for a coach's funeral expenses. Jose Trujillo was run over by a truck he was working underneath at Providence Hospital and later died. A friend told ABC7 Trujillo was at the hospital for an appointment with his son, who is having asthma complications. And also on our website, we have a link to the GoFundMe account that his friends and family set up in his honor. Also, an NFL.com writer has a report on a mid-2011 incident involving Cowboys star Des Bryant at a Walmart. The police report described the response by an officer to an unknown disturbance in a Walmart parking lot on July 11th. You can find the details of the story on our homepage. Also, Troy Bradley has traveled around the world and broken dozens of world records. In fact, the latest one just set weeks ago. And on KVIA.com, you can find the hot air balloon pilot and Albuquerque native's complete record-breaking story when he visited Las Cruces.
A Texas teen is spending his snow days working on an igloo. Check this out. 15-year-old Adam Graham says so far it has taken him more than 300 bricks made of snow to build this igloo. The small ice building sits in his front yard in Tyler. He began building it all by himself after it started sleeting. Adam has spent more than a total of 30 hours building the igloo. He says he hopes to sleep in it when it's done. Wow, look at that. His fingers are bare.
This reminds me, I had some friends in middle school who still talk about it to this day, the time when it snowed really heavily back in the 90s and they built an igloo. They had enough snow to do it. So, yeah.
That's some dedication to work right there.
Yeah, and it looks like he's running out of snow. Did you see how thin it was getting where he was working? So good luck to him.
Pretty cool.
Let's talk about your forecast. We are still tracking those winds this morning outside. Now, officially at the El Paso International Airport, they're just reporting at 9 miles per hour. 14 Las Cruces, but we did just check in on those WeatherNet sites in El Paso, and we've got wind speeds up into those 20s, 30s in a few spot areas. That's far east and west El Paso County that are seeing the higher winds outside. That's because your winds are still coming in from the east, meaning western slopes of mountain areas are going to see the higher winds. As we roll through, our temperature is definitely affected by the winds. It feels like 23 outside this morning in El Paso and 19 in Las Cruces. How about Silver City? 27-0. That is the wind chill temp in Ruidoso. Brr! It feels cold out there this morning because of windy conditions and also very cool conditions outside. On your hourly windcast, check out these wind speeds. 25 miles per hour, what you can expect through about 7 a.m., 20 at 10 a.m., a little dip here. Now, we are seeing some of us with wind speeds above 25. I'm saying generally speaking outside or peak gusts in El Paso. We pick back up to 30 miles per hour 1 to 4 o'clock, and then we're still at breezy conditions, 25 mile per hour winds through the beginning of your night, 20 mile per hour gusts 10 to 1. So those winds really not going anywhere today. Again, 25 to 30 mile per hour gusts just like we saw yesterday. On your 7-day windcast, gusts of 30 today, 35 tomorrow. So we are looking at windy conditions lasting right into your weekend here. Gust of 30 on Sunday and Monday, gust of 40 on Tuesday and 30 on Wednesday. Good news is, and is in sight, Thursday we see those gusts at 20 miles per hour, which will be the lowest we've seen for quite some time in our forecast. Here is our clouds and radar map. Overnight, radar showing that we actually had a little bit more activity than expected drop down to the south central parts of our viewing zone, all the way into northern Doña Ana County, and radar even indicating a little bit of rain that moved into far east El Paso County. Because it's such a light green on radar, I'm curious if it actually made it to the ground. If you got any raindrops on your car this morning, let us know so we can know if that rain did make it to the surface. We weren't supposed to see any activity, so this really did push in a little better than expected. So again, if you have any report for us, weather at KVIA.com, where you can send it. On your future track model, still showing some scattered snow showers possible through about 7 a.m. on your Friday, burning off by your lunchtime, but still some clouds in place. Mostly clear outside for the rest of us here. As we move through your future track model, we do see clear to clouds, back and forth. 7 p.m. back to the clouds, clear overnight. Here we are at 7 a.m. on your Saturday, and as we roll on through, just the Silver City area looking at some spot rain through 7 p.m. Saturday, overnight into Sunday. Most of us still clear outside. How about that 7-day forecast? Today we are windy. We stay windy, as we mentioned, almost for the next 7 days. 56 is your temperature today in El Paso, still in the 50s, but by tomorrow we warm. 70. We're at 73 on Sunday for Race for the Cure. It will still be windy on your Sunday, but just breezy for the race itself. And into next week, we do have that 20% chance of rain on your Monday, but do notice chances of rain, they've tapered back a bit since yesterday.
Okay, but the wind didn't.
No, it didn't.
All right, well, just checking. There was a chance,
yeah.
Right? Okay, thanks,
Wishful
Crystal.
thinking.
Yeah.
And still ahead, migraines are very common for so many people.
Coming up, we'll show you how you can better cope if you have that pain. Stay with us. It's 5:18.
Anchors dressed by Ella Blue.
Toyota is the #1 selling car in the world.
Hi, folks. I'm Dick Poe.
And Dick Poe has been selling new Toyotas since 1980. It's Truck Month, and every new Toyota is marked down for this event. New 2015 Corollas for only $169 a month for 24 months. New Camrys for only $199 a month for 24 months. Save thousands on over 100 new Toyota Tundras. And all new Toyotas come with Toyota Care 2-year free maintenance at no charge.
Dick Poe, save you money.
Dick Poe Toyota Scion, 63330 Montana.
Your story doesn't add up. Where were you Friday night?
I told you.
Tell me again about this deal.
I switched to Time Warner Cable and got more HD and movies from Epix, ultra-fast internet, and unlimited nationwide calling.
Go on.
With TV equipment included, all for $89.99 a month. And for $9.99 a month, I added stars with a $50 rebate.
He's telling the truth. That's a great deal.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the show.
Oh, I do too.
Call now and get free installation. Time Warner